like, all right, cool. What's the like when you consider cheating? What's definitely cheating? Like again, like if I have to test you to figure out how you're gonna respond, and you're gonna respond to like a negative light or someone I'm not gonna know again, I might have my feelings hurt, but might consider that cheating. I don't know. Gray area. If you meet somebody new that I don't know about, and you're gonna encourage a relationship, and then now let's say I go through your phone and I find this message who's this person I don't know about? Okay, then I'm like, that's intent. And to me, it's like, okay, that's when it's like, okay, what are you doing here? Versus I'm like setting the seed or the trap to see if you're going to take it or not. I think most women have a good enough intuition to know, like, hey, if they're being tested, know how to avoid that situation, or maybe it might have parameters. Okay, like maybe I don't get too deep into the person until like we get to point A or point B, or like, you know what, let's see how we carry this on for a couple of weeks. But like, how many women that's going to respond that quickly just to some random guy boosting them up? That to me, I don't know. Okay, at least I haven't seen. I guess the women I associate with, or people that I'm closely sponsored, like I don't know how they're going to respond. Now, as you say, like women's sneakiness or deceitfulness, oh yeah, they can do that in droves. So unless you're like paying attention to them day by day, minute by minute, I don't know. But I need more context. Like guys tend to test women, but not in the way that women test men. I think sometimes we're like kind of juvenile when we test them, like, you know, like, hey, let's see what they do.
I hear everything that you're saying, but I still disagree because I believe I know that women understand that a lot of guys can be really shady. They can be really sus in a lot of instances. So I don't think a lot of women would be so surprised if she was with someone and one of his friends tried to see what he could do. Women talk about it a lot, actually, in which you're just like, okay, this is supposed to be your boy, but he's over here in my DMs. They say it happens a lot. Yeah. I don't think that women would be necessarily surprised. Would they be upset? Perhaps, but that depends on the type of woman you got. Mm-hmm. Right? So then if that would be the logic behind, okay, I'm not sure about my woman's faithfulness. That's why I would ask my man to just play around and see if he could get in her DMs and see how she responds. Right? And to me, it's still, regardless of the situation of with whether or not my girlfriend is flirting with somebody like an accountant or a work friend or whatever, or whether it's with my guy, either way, she's still opening a door. In fact, it's actually more egregious if she's entertaining it with one of my friends, because that's somebody that she associates with me. Yeah. Right? So then that means, how much does she really care about our relationship if she's willing to entertain even a flirty conversation with someone that is connected to me? And even in the situation with someone who's a stranger, the door is still open because she's entertaining or having a conversation with somebody who's like even easier to be able to hide from me, or because they have a connection to me. Either way, there's something going on that's probably not supposed to be going on.
This is true, but the key thing is, like, if you know that, how can you get mad at her for taking the trap versus if you don't know, then it's like the only way you would have found out is unless you started her to get caught again, because again, she was going to do something that she thought she can get away with. That's the way I look at it. Like, how much energy were you going to put into this to get away with it? If I have to like study like a hawk to figure things out, then hey, I'm just like, okay, I need to figure out why I'm putting myself in that situation versus just giving like petty, again, like I'm king petty. If I have to give petty traps just to figure things out and whatever, I'm like, all right, cool. If I get you in my snare of the trap, great. But if I don't, this is like, doesn't mean that you're not going to do it. That doesn't take that part away.
That's true.
True.
The key thing is, unless the perfect answer to test is, if I send my boy at my girl should come to me what my boy has to say versus not responding. If the objective is not to respond, women are going to pick up on that. To me, that doesn't get you to A. What gets you to A is, but this is what your boy said. I'm not saying anything back. I need you to handle with that. Now, most women ain't gonna pass the test with an A. They might pass it with a C, and we're giving credit for a C versus the A. And that's how I look at it. And I'm
Man,
like, if that's your mindset,
I've moved mad in
then
the past, though.
again, I'm just like, all right, cool. That's not the test I want to give to you. I'm like, all right, cool. What happens when I'm not around, not looking to you? And that's the reason the story I gave you the number one. So if you're willing to play that game in that snap, and which I find out that okay, I know you're not a good person. I know like there's some deceit, there's some dark labyrinths or places or tunnels in that heart that I don't know about. And that's what we have to go down. It's like, okay, cool. I know I'm not built for that. That's the way I look at it. So,
I get it. I feel you. That's the reason I don't believe in tests in the first place.
Yeah, I don't even test it.
Like either end. Like I don't feel like I don't believe that they work. Right. But I was explaining the logic for why someone would want to
do that, yeah.
Right. Then that would explain to me if you even feel like you should test your significant other, not to feel that you already don't trust them. What reasons do you feel like you don't have to trust them? And that's actually much harder. If you have somebody who you believe has been faithful already, but for some reason or another, they're starting to switch up, that would be the logic for the test, right? Like, okay, I know my partner, but right now things have been kind of off. I can't quite put my finger on it. And I've been getting certain types of like signals or like certain types of hints, but it's not anything substantial. So let me actually pick up things and see get some real evidence by having my guy test my girl or whatever, that sort of thing. I was just trying to explain that logic for why somebody would want to take that route. Not that it would actually work.
Yeah.
If you have enough intuition, because I do think that guys have a certain level of intuition. If you have enough speculation for feeling like, okay, I'm not sure if she's actually like being solid, and that's probably a reason why you should probably like have that conversation to leave, or you talk to her about whatever is going on. Regardless, you're gonna get some type of answer.
Oh, you will.
Think about it carefully.
You will.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. I mean, to be honest, obviously, I would never test a girl. I don't think it's worth it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the answer that's going to come back probably more than likely is going to be unsatisfactory. You know what I'm saying? Because it's very rare that someone's look. There are many factors as to why she may not. Let's say, for instance, your boy did message her and she ignores it, and now I got to stress about the fact that she ignored it. No. She might not. Do you know what I mean? Like, like for her, she might have thought to herself, I don't want to have to deal with this. You know what I mean? Like, I can understand that the person may feel like, okay, I'm probably potentially now gonna F up this friendship. Do you know what I'm saying? And maybe she really likes you a lot, and she doesn't want to lose you. She's probably thinking that this could end really, really badly. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, if your girl now comes and tells you your boy was in her DMs, everybody's dying. So it's like just like everybody's got to die. You know what I'm saying? So it is not it is very difficult for mud not to be sung on.
I mean, that's the thing. If you send your boy to the
if you send them,
that's one.
That's different story.
If you it's just like your random boy now's in her DMs and she kind of gives you the information and give you the heads up. That's a whole different. That's a whole different story. I mean, that's where else get shot. But anyways, different story, different scenario. But again, like if I'm sending my guy out here, hey, do this for me. Of course, there's only one response for that. Now, if I just see,
so just make it very clear. What is the one response you are saying that you need?
Huh?
What's the one response that you need? So let's say there was a test. By the way, audience members, we've agreed already. Well, none of us are testing any girl. Okay, we're talking hypothetically. Don't come and comment in the section behind. These niggas are gonna us are trying to test people. We're not. We're hypothetically speaking.
All right, so I sent my best friend to holler at my girl to see how she responds.
Okay,
and he's like, "All right, I got you.
Okay,
I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna try her DMs in the next couple of days and see what she responds to say. If my woman comes back to me like 1 or 2 weeks later, it's like, hey, you know what? Hey, I had to let you know, like 2 weeks ago, your man responded to me by the gram. At first, I didn't hear it. First, I didn't think anything of it. I let it slide. Then he responded again. It's like, here you go, screenshot, whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. You didn't say anything back. All right, that's great. Because me and my friend, I give him the okay to do that. But if she doesn't say anything, again, it's not a fail or anything. Maybe she's just again, trying to hide my feelings, whatever. Now, if it gets to the point where he sends some, if I find out I said send a trap and then he's out here trying to sleep with her, that's a different story. But again, if you're not probably not gonna be my boy at the same time. But if my woman lets me know the information via the the trap that I set for, that's fine. If I find out they're acting upon it, again, I'm gonna get pissed off. Then I'm like, okay, maybe I don't have a good girl, maybe I don't have a good friends. Maybe I'm the one to blame. But I think I have a good set of guy friends.
Do you know what's really okay? So let's say, for instance, it's not the best friend you're going that's in the situation. Yeah, let me just put this situation in front of you guys. Yeah.
Okay, so you're trying to pick undergrad. Okay, cool. So story time. You want story time?
No, kind of, but it's like, okay. So my question really more cases is like, okay, let's say, because obviously best friend is a bit bait, so it's like,
all right, we can do story time with Onu.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. We'll let you have your story time. Don't worry. We're gonna let you have your story time because that's good that you got one. It's always good to get a personal, witness. But let's say, for instance, a situation, for instance, right? You don't have to necessarily say yes or no to this question, but obviously, have you spoken to a girl who's in a relationship and it's been a very entertaining conversation, should I say, right? It's like, if her man was there, it'd be problematic, but nothing ever happens from that conversation. Like, it's not like anyone's taken anywhere. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
it's a natural conversation where you're flirting and you throw in compliments, and that conversation is never meant to be seen by anybody.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? So is you saying yes?
Yes, but at the same time, it's like, if I know if there's no future from that, you can have those conversations. I've met a lot of pretty women. Like, hey, you know what? Hey, let's just see where things go, where this conversation goes. It doesn't mean the fact that we have a conversation that is going to lead into us courting or going on a date or even eventually being in a relationship. Maybe it's just a conversation. Sometimes most people are like, if we have the conversation, that must mean like, hey, you know what, we have to have the relationship, we have to have everything. Nah, sometimes just a conversation. Sometimes a great conversation, sometimes a boring conversation. I mean, that's the easy part. When you're trying to take the conversation and make it mean something more, or like you see where far you can go, and then that's when the dark arts get, or that's when you get to chapter 2, chapter 3. But hey.
Wait, so what's your story time, brother?
Story time. Okay, so college again. So when I got to college, I was around 17. So it's like 1 year younger than like typical. Most people are like 18, 19. So it's like, again, 17 takes 30. So I think 17, but I think it was 18. There was this girl that I'd liked, I think freshman or sophomore year. And we used to there was like a student union where we like used to hang out and like, play cards, whatever. And it's a really girl that I liked. And the key thing is like I never told the girl that I liked her. I was just like, the signs, you could tell that I liked her or not.
Come on now.
So it's just like, okay. Again, didn't stay out to the game. But regardless, maybe we talked, we played cards, we just hung out, as kids would say, without having an actual conversation for like months on end. And like there was a group of guys that were like juniors and seniors, whatever. And again, like I shouldn't have been associated with them, but at the same time, you want to look cool, you social with other people. They could peep out that I really liked this girl. I guess she was a cute girl.
A young game right there.
But
sweat in a young man.
It was like I didn't realize what was happening around the scenes. Again, I messed up because I never talked to the girl, told her exactly how I felt. But they were up nefarious means. They took things they made things interesting. I'm not sure how far can we go. What can we say?
As far as you want. No, you can go I was wanting to make everybody aware it's recorded now, so that's what I was saying.
Okay, so they went nefarious. They went nefarious. So again, they went into the dark arts chapter 4 or 5. So it was like you fast forward. So this was like me undergrad. So again, you fast forward like 5-6 years down the road, and it's like, all right, cool. Graduating, start going different ways, whatever. So it's like everyone's dispersed, whatever. Me, I'm in med school right now. So again. This was undergrad ONU. Now we're getting to like medical school ONU. It's like, okay, cool. I'm trying to become something. I'm along that path. Again, like I still see her afar, social media, things like that. But at the same time, it's like, all right, cool. Never shot my shot, stay in the background, whatever. And it's just like, you know what? You fast forward, like, closer to after medical, whatever. And I was like, all right, cool. I remember running into like one of her friends. And it was like, all right, cool. whoop de whoop. Remember the good old days, blah blah. You said, yeah, I remember your friend used to. I had a mad crush on her. Like, man, I wish I could have told her back in the day how I felt, whatever. She's like, oh man, I'm glad you did it because she was with she was with one of the seniors, one of the seniors again I associated with. I was like, what? How did that happen? Because like I was talking to this girl like really every single day behind the scenes. I was there. We were smiling. We were cracking up at lunch. It was like how did this happen on the scenes again? Like because again I didn't understand the game behind the scenes. I even told these guys like, yeah, I was feeling this girl. Never talked to the girl. Told everyone that's like again made a huge mistake there. But the thing is, it's like if I never present that situation. Like I never told her exactly how I feel, but that information changed my perspective of her. Like again, even right now, I'm like, if I was to meet her in face to face, like would I still be as attracted as like now? Back then, no. Based on information I would have known because yeah, she's chasing other people, or maybe there was something about I call it the coolness gene. Maybe I wasn't cool enough to handle that situation back then. Even if I can do it right now, I know it's like okay. You're attracted to the bad guys with the guys that were edgy and things like that. So again, if I'm this clean, square type person, what makes you think I even had a chance? Like I didn't have a chance. What makes you think I have a chance now? What's changed? Besides experience.
What's changed though?
Besides experience.
What's changed here is that is how women perceive what is excitable to her now amongst men. Do you know what I mean? So this is why I will say to you, listen, man, them that are good men, not nice, but good men now. Listen, you should be laughing your head off. All the bad boys have destroyed these girls' hearts, and they're now looking for you. You understand? Yeah, the market is full of these girls with broken hearts who are now looking at good guys. But yeah, she may never. Okay, the truth of the matter is, some women will never look in your direction, and it's just how the game works. Do you know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of women that would maybe not have looked at you years ago, that when they look at you now, will look at you. Do you know what's really interesting about this topic is that situations like this, you'd be surprised if you actually ask her and get to grip. Let me tell you something. I remember a situation when I was in school, yeah, and this one girl was fire. I mean, she was fire. It's when I was young, probably like 13, 14, fire, yeah. And I had a mad crush on her, maddest, yeah. But man was not cool, and was not fit, and was a fat African kid. Okay, listen, all right. And I liked her a lot, right? Now I never said anything, but I'm sure she was aware. Yeah, we used to get into a few fights here and there. I used to do stupid stuff like try and take her bag, try and get into I tried to, try to do my little piece. Okay. Years later, I'm hearing she was like telling her friend, I actually like Koja. I said, what do you mean? No, because you knew I liked you. But she's like, yeah, but I was shy. I didn't want to say anything as well. And also for her, image is important for her as well at that young age. You have to, you know what I'm saying? Right? So although she's saying she liked me, until I was going to take my balls and go, listen, I'm going to be a man about the situation and approach it. If I get rejected, I get rejected. I didn't do that, bro. Do you know what I mean? So there's actually missed opportunities out here sometimes when we're younger because we're not being confident. Because let's say, for instance, yeah, she knows that she likes the bad boys. The truth of the matter is, it's because only the bad boys are approaching. You and I were sitting there going, I wish I could get with that girl.
Yeah,
you're looking all mad and stuff.
I whose confidence was at zero. Again, confidence was at zero. Now, confidence is definitely not at zero. But at the same time, it's just like, again, you said missed opportunities. Like it definitely was missed opportunities. But at the same time, it was like I was encouraging the competition to go after the girls that I actually liked, which is like the dumbest thing ever. Like again, like
why were you doing that though?
Huh?
Why were you doing that? What was the motivation?
I was uncool. Like where were you? We didn't have StreamYard. We didn't have these forums where like where we could actually like talk and figure things out. But at the same time, was like I kind of felt like I think the age gap is definitely one thing, but two, rejection. Like at the point like I feared rejection. Like again, I feared the no, or like I'm not interested. Fast forward now, I'm like, I don't care if you're not interested. I'm gonna approach or talk to the person I like versus what I don't like, because I know if I sit in the corner, I'm not gonna get anything. I'm not gonna get the results I want. If I approach, let's say, even one or two women, I still get no's. At least I approached the women that actually wanted to see something with. Fine, I can live with that. I can live with 0 and 2. versus going 0 for 0. I'm like, I'm afraid to take the shot.
Mm.
And that's the trend. I mean, it's a hard transition, but at least that's the transition that most men have to make. But at this up, 1, 2, like if you have an attraction or affinity to somebody else, do you have the balls to just go up and say, hey, do you like this person? Yes or no? Like, I've seen the maturity. I can do that now. I couldn't do that at 17.
David, what are you saying, fam?
Nah, I just I was just thinking about the last thing that you said, and I was just thinking about the first time I ever like truly approached a girl. I don't know what it is, man. I was shaking. My body was convulsing. I don't know what was going on, but I felt proud because I did it scared, right? I think a lot of times, like, the thing that holds people back is just the fear of what could happen wrong. But then what if things go right? And if you just gotta do it even if you're scared. Like, I think that is the thing that people respect. You might actually be able to get a good positive response just because you tried. They can see that you're shaking, they can see that you're fearing, they can see that, like, you're quivering and all that other stuff.
Shit.
But
rejection sucks.
You have the guts to be able to do it. I think that earns a lot of respect in people's eyes, especially at least these days, especially because people don't really approach anymore. Everybody does it visually. So women want that cold approach. They want to be able to be approached by somebody who just has the guts just to be able to at least try, right? And I think because it's not seen that often these days, you might get a lot of play, especially if you are a good guy. It's like, where is this coming from? Women are literally waiting for that. Yeah. I can't tell you how many women I've talked to who just want a good guy to just approach them out of nowhere. Just from nowhere, you know what I mean? So I think that's really what it comes down to. I was just thinking about, like, approaching in general. It sucks, but
did the younger you fear rejection or not? Were you all right with it?
What? Me personally, I'm an introvert. I don't really like to be. I'm not like someone who engages very often, right? But I do find the value in, like, good conversation. So I would be in positions in which I would become friends with a lot of women, but I was just like, I'm not sure how far I can take it because I'm not sure if they're into someone like me. I'm not sure if we align in that regard. Over time, I began to switch my thinking, like, okay, but are they the right match for me? You know what I mean? I think that's from what I've seen, that's usually the context for more confident men. Like, no, I'm not trying to gain your favor. You have to get into my good graces. So I'm the one who's bringing something to the table. I'm the one who has to risk something. There better be a reward for whatever I'm risking, even if it is rejection. Because I do think that everybody fears rejection to a certain extent. And no matter how you try to cover it up, there's a certain part of you that knows it's a risk. Some people like that thrill. Some people are avoidant of it. I was often avoidant of it. And I was just like, at a certain point, up until that point of when I first approached a girl, I was just like, I would be stuck in my head. And I would be getting caught up in a bunch of different scenarios that hadn't actually happened. There was no way for me to actually truly know unless I tried. So until I actually tried, then I would be caught up in, like, okay, the what ifs. And it's the what ifs that probably, like, kept me from experiencing a lot more. And I probably would have had a lot more reward for my risk. Because come back years later, I find out this one was actually interested. That one would have been open. This one. And it's like, how come you didn't say anything? You didn't try. You didn't. Closed mouths don't get fed. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's really just trying. You just got to do sometimes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, bro. I mean, I think you kind of learn it over time, innit? But when you're younger, I think, especially when you're talking about school and talking about school times and stuff like that, the school is your whole world, man. Do you know what I mean? If that falls apart, it is tough to come back from that. And I think it's one of those things where you need you need somewhere, you need a mentor, or you need a space where that tells you, listen, get up, keep trying again, because it only, you're fearful of, like I said, not just being rejected but being laughed at, being embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? Embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? Like the YouTubers will know, like people know this should know already. I already told that story where a girl told me I was a 2. You know what I'm saying? I had to take it on board, bro. You know, what can I do about it, brother? A girl that I actually liked told me I was a 2 out of 10, bro. So it's like you have to, you almost have to kind of develop this thick skin. But if you're not having someone in your corner kind of telling you this is normal, bro, you know what I'm saying? You gotta be confident. You know what I'm saying? And you got to stick with it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because, you know, as you were saying, bro, you do become more aware, or at least you develop a thought process that says, I'm not sure if that girl will actually like me. You know, I'm not sure she'll, you know, like my sauce. You know what I mean? Because if I look at the other guys that potentially she may have been liking in the past, I don't fit that narrative at all. I'm not the bad boy. I'm not the fastest guy in the school. I don't have. I'm not in the rugby or football team for you guys. It's football team. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not in the athletics team. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not in any of the cool clubs that you know that would potentially, you know, the girl might like or whatever. I'm not, and I'm not the bad guy either. I am the good guy who's trying to stay into his books, and you know, that's where I'm at. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and so you do start to think, what can I offer? And that when you're young, do you know what I mean? What can I offer that these bad boys are offering? Like, you start putting yourself down. You know what I mean? And it's tough to get out of that mindset when you're really young. As you get older, you kind of come out of it, but when you're younger, it's tough, bro.
Yeah,
it's tough.
That's true. That's true. Man. Honestly, I feel like that kind of mindset, it's tough to get out of because you're not really putting stock into your own value. You're basically saying you have nothing to offer.
This is it.
That's really more about how you see yourself rather than anybody else sees you.
Come on.
That's the first thing that should be fixed, right? Like, okay, I don't have this, I don't have that, but what do I have? There's always something that you can bring to the table. So then figure out what exactly that is. If you don't know what that is yet, try new things. Have fun trying those things out and seeing where your strengths are. That's where you'll really be able to find your confidence. Once you find confidence in the things that you can do, now you feel braver to be like, okay, I can't do that, but I can do this. Nobody's seeing me here, right? So then I think that's when you begin to really build yourself and you begin to have confidence and put stock into your own value. And that's attractive. Then you'll be able to be like, okay, yeah, I can bring this to the table. And that really starts with you being more comfortable with yourself.
I'm with you on that, bro. Problem with that is, I'm talking about young people now, not necessarily us, our younger selves. The problem with that is that you need someone who's going to be able to let you know that there is value outside of what your coexisting world is showing you right there and there. Because oftentimes when we're making that decision when we're younger, we're taking into account the trading system, okay, or of the marketplace when it comes to dating within that sphere of that school or your area. And the trouble is, like you were saying, let's say, for instance, you're sick at chess. You absolutely murk chess. Yeah. But if your school environment, maybe your environment you grew up in, does not respect chess as something that's levels, it don't matter how much confidence you got, you're still the chess guy. You know what I mean? Like, and unless that girl can buy into that worldview, she will never see you that way because there's no relatability. Do you know what I'm saying? So it takes someone from the outer aspect to say, hey, so look, bro, like, keep going. Like, they will see the value in what you're saying. They will see the value in that. It's almost as if you have to be able to have a level of relatability when it comes to that, because you're young and some people have different talents that they really are good at. You know, some people I threw chess out there, but there's other things. You know what I'm saying? You could be academically smart, you could be a funny person, but maybe your humor's slightly different. You know what I'm saying? There's so many things like maybe you're good at cooking. You know what I'm saying? But it's about how can you translate your thing into the current system that you're seeing right there and then.
That's what I was gonna say. Because there's always a way to flip it. You may not be able to play chess in different areas, but you still have the mind to be able to win. You still have the mind to strategize, right? So then if you're someone who can really be able to strategize, you can apply that to a bunch of different things. For me, in school, it was art, right? I wasn't necessarily like, I tried different sports, but I wasn't necessarily good at any of them. And I didn't know how to be able to make that attractive. But what I did know how to do was draw people. I would draw the girls that I was attracted to, and they would love it. You know what I mean? Easy open door. Not necessarily a guy who's like really confident or like really like extroverted and gregarious, or was really a guy who knew how to be like popular with like different types of people and stuff like that. But I knew how to get the door open. I knew at least how to be able to squeeze my way in there and somehow be able to like, open the door for some sort of attraction, some sort of like connection between me and the person that I fancy. There's always a way. You just have to be able to figure out like, okay, what strengths do I have and how can I apply them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. What you said is key as well, bro. You gave a good example of the, of that kind of crossover that you have to almost make. You know what I mean? Because and to be honest, it's a key skill that actually applies to when you're an adult as well. Because you can still, you have to be able to relate to the system, even if you're outside of the system. Because unfortunately, everyone else is in the system. You know what I mean? Like, so you have to find a way how to relate, and that's actually the skill. It's almost like transferable skills. It's the same principle that you've got to have. If you're your value, you've got to be able to translate that into the current system that we see. Like we were just talking earlier on before Onu got on here, but you talking about NFT, right?
Yeah.
But that's something that maybe 20 years ago makes no sense. Right? Let's say it doesn't make no sense with Bitcoin and everything. Makes no sense, right? But nothing's actually changed. What has changed is the method in terms of how we maybe pay people, whatever, because now we're on Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff. But years ago it would have been cold hard cash, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the artist has to learn how to adapt to what the particular environment is now saying. It's about adaptability. You know what I mean? So if you are, for instance, funny, now humor is also something that is subjective, but if it's not in the context of the society that you're actually in, you ain't gonna be funny. You're gonna be annoying.
True.
You see what I'm saying? So that person, so if you're young and if you're especially for ladies, listen, if you've got children, I know you like send our stuff to your children, let them listen to this part of the particular video. They need to learn how to make their stuff relatable to the system they're in. If you're funny, it's got to be relatable to the system in. If you're smart, it's got to be relatable to the system that you're in. You know what I'm saying? Like you've got to be able to mirror what you're kind of seeing. You know what I mean? Like when you made a really good point about the strategy when it comes to chess. Well, if you were able to understand strategy, that if you were able to translate that to the modern world, it's almost like what we do on this channel here. When we talk about stuff, we take TV and then we translate it to real world and say this is relationships. We can break it down, blah blah blah, and that's actually what you have to do all the time when you're younger to make it adaptable for people to. Because the whole point is that people are not understanding what you're actually doing. You know what I mean? If that young girl's looking at you and going, "Yeah, I think he's a nerd," or whatever, the reason why is because she doesn't understand what you're doing.
Right.
So that's why she's calling you a nerd or you're this, because there is no relatability to with her world and your world, which is why some nerds are brilliant. They manage to able to relate it to the real world, and a lot of them don't. Do you know what I mean? Because it's tough to get that transferable stuff.
Yeah, it's if you can somehow layer that strategic chess mind onto relationships, and now you can predict other people's behavior. Now all of a sudden you're a magician. You know what I mean? Now you can predict what people are thinking. Now you're just like, you're no longer just a chess kid. Now you're the mind reader. Everybody's fascinated with you. Now all of a sudden you're popular. You know what I mean? It's just hard to be able to layer things and to be able to connect things and see where, okay, the dots connect. And of course that requires talent. It requires you to do some work on that behalf. But like once you're able to figure things out and be able to use your strengths and double up on them, now a whole bunch of things are now open for you. You know what I mean?
You know what? And that's what I'm saying to you about. You gonna need a mentor, or you need to watch some video like this that will explain this to you, because you almost don't know that when you're younger. You're seeing it, but you can't put a language to it. Do you know what I mean? Which is where the frustration is born for a lot of people. They can't put a language to what they're seeing. For instance, you see the bad guy, and he's just moving mad. Has 4 or 5 chicks that all the 4 or 5 chicks know that he's moving mad, but somehow he gets all the girl, and you're asking, and then you become bitter. And I'm not saying me personally, I don't really care, to be honest, because I wasn't getting anywhere anyway. So, but some people can get bitter because what they're looking at, they're going, well, how come he's able to get away with it and do this and not realizing that there's a need to translate what he's actually doing, actually understand what is he doing, and then bring that, not every aspect, but tap into some of the aspects that he's doing that are making him be this person who's of being attracted. Now, it can be, and this is what I'm saying about explaining things to people. To a young person, especially a young man, he may think, if I was better looking and taller, I'd get the girls. And let me tell you something now. I remember a situation in school. Listen, this kid was fat. He was fat. Yeah. Remember this fat, light-skinned brother, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Listen, the chicks digged him. Not even good looking. The chicks digged him. Do you know why they digged him? Because, fam, the way he used to move, listen, the way he talked with confidence. I used to ask myself, I don't know where this confidence is coming from. And he was funny. So he was funny and he was confident with it. So listen, listen, you know what it's about. You know what it is. And the girls will love him off. And I'm like, what was he doing? And you see, and sometimes you can't see it because you're looking for the most obvious things. Oh, yes, we're tall, good looking, because you hear the girls maybe say that, but that is not. It's about, that's why there's little things like confidence that is transferable, that's relatable to what the environment they're in. Do you know what I'm saying? Then it makes it much more palatable for the person to receive it, because everything's about information being sent and being received.
Right.
And if you can deep it at that young age, how can I make myself relatable to the person I'm trying to be, trying to like, let's say for a woman or whatever, then you will deep the whole system. And like you said, you become a mastermind.
Right. Honestly, the thing that I think is key about like picking up on those types of traits is that like you'll be mad because you'll see like all the girls being attracted to the bad guy.
Yeah.
Or see the confidence or the funny, and they're like, okay, I'm not like that.
Yeah.
What I think is that like perceiving that you're on the right track, but you haven't gone all the way.
Come on.
Right? So you're perceiving that women are attracted to certain types of men, but you haven't fully examined all those types of guys, right? So I would say go further. Look at all the different types of guys and then really think about all their traits, because they may all be very different guys, but there's still some key things that they're tapping into, whether or not they're actually bad guys. Because there's not, you can do this with even funny guys. Usually funny guys are a little bit more gregarious, a little bit more empathetic, because they're thinking on different types of ways to be able to relate to people, which means that they have better experiences and stuff like that. Wouldn't necessarily always consider them bad guys, but they're still also getting girls. You're just paying attention to only the bad guys. What if you take that and you say, okay, what other things are they tapping into? I may not consider myself very funny. I may not consider myself very extroverted, but what things do these people have in common? And do I also have that within myself to be able to bring that out in different conversations and see if I can tap into whatever they're tapping into? Or is there a different type of thing? That's the type of strategy mindset you would probably have to do in terms of analysis, assessment, and then being able to compare that and say, okay, what do I have in my toolbox to be able to bring to the conversation to ultimately get to the goal of, I want to be able to talk to girls. I want the type of attention that they're getting and stuff like that. Figure out where's the connection. And if you don't, usually these guys are usually open to putting you on game anyway.
Yeah.
Because they like to brag about themselves. They like to talk about the experiences and all that other type of stuff. That's just giving you information.
Free game.
It's free game.
Free game.
So I think it comes down to just being able to humble yourself to be like, okay, what's going on and how much deeper does this actually go? And depending on how much you want it, you'll do that work.
Yeah, you know, and yeah, I love what you're saying, bro, because you're kind of smashing it as well. And you know, because obviously when you were younger, like I said, you were, you know, I remember some of the guys that were getting the girls, bro, and and that's what I said. Like you said, bro, you only, if you don't look deeper, you only see the surface, right? You might connect, all of them are bad, or all of them are funny, all of them play sports, and think that is what women are looking at. But the thing is, and this is why understanding women is actually, or understanding sometimes how women think and how attraction for them works, makes it, you become a mastermind. You know what I'm saying? Like, because honestly, bro, like if you look at it one dimension, you miss it. It's where you got to be able to see the different aspects. And like you said, I love the fact you said that when we were young, you're right. Man, who were young, family who were getting a girl's blood, they will happily put you on game. And here's the thing as well, here's the thing that was happening is that, for instance, let me say myself example, right? let's say one of the guys might tell me, listen, bro, you just got to be confident. Now, I might try and be confident, but I don't believe in it. And that can be seen by the opposite sex, that you don't believe. And you're not, even though you're saying you're confident, you really ain't confident. Because as soon as she said something, you felt pressure. So where was that confidence you're talking about, bro? Do you know what I'm saying? So you might have said, but I tried it didn't work. Yeah, because you didn't believe it though. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to understand as well that the opposite sex is a party you can't control. And by all means, they are seeing you for you. If you're saying you're about that life, let's see it. You know what I'm saying? That's why the bad guy, you see him, he's in a fight this week, he's in a fight next week. He's in a fight the other week. He's telling you he's a bad guy. You understand? Like he's given evidence that this is him and that's his lifestyle. The way he talks is giving you evidence that this is him and this is what he's about. Do you understand? So all of that then translates into how she sees that individual person. But you yourself, if you come there and you're not confident as well, you know what I mean? And you're trying to pretend as if you are confident, that's when you get shattered. Because you can see right through it. And it's even more worse because it's like you're pretentious now. It's like you're trying to be confident, but you don't really have that confidence. And that's how you get used. That's how they'll use you. Because you will happily put yourself in second position because she's giving you a little bit of attention. Because you're not really that confident.
So then how do you steer a young man in the right direction from being fake and having that fake confidence to actually having real confidence? Like actually being able to be like, okay, this is not fake. This is really who I am. Like, what do you tell to that young man?
I said to face his books, but sent to face his books. But no. Do you know what? Faith cometh by hearing the word of God. You understand? Faith, confidence, and trust. Confidence is built up, you know, when you are able to trust in what you hold as value. And that, for me, in a sense, is that you've got to put yourself in spaces where you hear stuff like this over and over and over again. Because I'm assuming that you may not get that from your parents, right? I'm making that assumption. If you've got great parents who can give you that, you need to be tapping into that, what they're saying to you. Do you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Have a real conversation with your parents. If you've got parents that are cool enough like that, where you can have a real conversation about how you're feeling, you know, sometimes it's good. You can go to your parents and say, Mom, look, Mom or Dad, I'm not really feeling, you know, that confident right now. And, you know, like school is like this or school like that. And a parent who loves you will give you that confidence boost. Now, some of you haven't got good parents. Let's be honest. Some of you have got some dead ass parents. Don't ask them because they're dead ass parents. Okay, you're gonna have to find, and it's tough, but you're gonna have to find some spaces where you're being built up and validated. Do you know what I'm saying? And that was what helps keep the faith inside of you that what I'm doing is levels.
Yeah.
It's a bit more harder, I think, sometimes for things that are a bit more. Let's say someone likes World of Warcraft. Yeah. Your actual confidence, is within you, but the confidence comes from your actual community. Your World of Warcraft community can build you up, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? But again, that confidence has to be also relatable because you're also relating your World of Warcraft to this real world. This is why we're saying that everything we're talking about is being able to transfer those skills.
Yeah.
World of Warcraft is a big thing, but it's a big thing for a certain community.
Right.
It's not the rest of the world. But can you translate World of Warcraft to this world? If you can, and you add your confidence that you have value in you because you got your own community, then you can actually excel. And this is actually what happens when you get older. You realize that principle. You know what I'm saying? That you realize I've got a community. They trust and believe what I do. I love what I do. I'm confident. And then you translate that into the world that you're in. Now, you don't go to work talking about World of Warcraft, do you? You don't. You relate to the people that's in that space. And you might add World of Warcraft references, right? And yeah, so it's tough because when you're young, the world, like I said, the world is quite small. But I would say, listen, put yourself in a space where you hear validation. You're being validated. You know what I'm saying? If that's parents, if that's friends, if that's your community that you have, and then validate you a little bit, man.
Yeah.
Keep it going. What's your thoughts, bro?
I think, man, having those communities, having those spaces and stuff like that, I think even that could be where you even explore your potential
Yes.
like future and stuff like that, because you already have those interests. You can begin to discuss like different mindsets and stuff like that. That's where you can really go deeper, because it's already a space where you feel comfortable. If you already feel comfortable, then that would also mean that you're more likely to be confident, because
Yes.
you don't have to feel like you have to prove anything. You don't feel like you have to. You may feel like there's less rejection because you're in a space where there's like-minded people, right?
Mm.
When you're in a space where there's like-minded people, then there's more likely that you can be able to exchange experiences, and then you can be able to layer upon those things and come to different conclusions, and you can be able to expand your minds even within that group. Then you can also begin to take that in other places. So like right here, right? You don't see a lot of guys in this space talking about like their feelings and relationships and all that other stuff. But we can, if we were to learn something from this community, just from each other right here, we can still apply that to the outside world.
Yeah.
We can still be able to say like, okay, I learned from this guy what he went through, or I learned from that person what he went through, or we had this discussion and we really thought through to the conclusion. And now I know how to be able to move if I ever encounter this, or I know how to be able to talk to somebody who's actually going through it. Those types of things you can begin to layer upon. So if you're in the World of Warcraft world, obviously you're not going to be fighting demons, and I mean, unless you're spiritual warfare, but if you're not going to be literally be fighting in that type of like fantastical world, but you can still talk to other people. You can still be able to cross-examine and share different experiences of your real life, because those things create conversation, and you can still be able to apply different things that you may have learned from one another to the real world. Or again, strategy, still be able to figure out how to adapt and all those types of things. That still applies. You just have to figure out like, okay, where's the connection here? And that takes work on your end. You know what I mean?
So, okay, a question. I've got Corey in the black as well. You sent on, you good there?
Yeah, I'm good. I was just gonna say, if I had to go back in time, like you would have to, I think most people are shy or introverted. You need to identify exactly the difference between you and like what you consider cool, or what you consider the why are girls going after particular set of guys, and then what is he doing that you're not doing. So most people are going to say confidence. Most people are going to say definitely it's going to be confidence, but also you see women approaching them. Like typically, eventually it's going to become your turn where women will approach you and you'll be able to have that engaging conversation. What you can't do is force someone who is not secure with themselves to go after something they don't know, that they don't want prematurely. Have them not wait. It's not like wait things out, but actually, again, we were talking the same thing. Learn the game from the sideline. Learn from other people's experience to see exactly what's working for them, and then what's the differences between them and between that person themselves. You don't want to mimic. I think most people try to mimic the bad guy, and that's going to get you in trouble if you know down deep down your core you're not that type of person. However, what are the attributes that you see them doing that you're not doing, and then incorporate that into your own confidence and watch that grow. Because again, I remember going to homecoming and no one talking to me at all, versus me going to a social formal gathering and there's 10 women approaching me. I've seen the difference between the two, and I still remember the day going to homecoming and no one approaching me. It's like itch in the back of my head. And to me, that's who I deep down see myself every single time. But I understand I'm not that person anymore. I'm not that short. My voice is not that goofy. I'm just not him anymore. And that's the key thing. You're going to have to go. I mean, it's going to be a longer process. That sucks. But understanding exactly what it is that you have to do. Being more confident and understand, hey, everything might not go the way that you want to go, but hey, sometimes it's just a conversation. Are you able to say, hey, I was able to talk to her for just a minute, and it went well, or it didn't go well? Or I was able to get that person's number, or able to call after again and have an enjoyable conversation for a couple of calls. Like, what is it that you want to achieve? Because again, for some, I mean, when I was in high school, it's like unless I was able take that girl out on a date or go to the movies, that was the only way considered successful. You talk to somebody, and to me, it's like, okay, that's not how the real world exists. Sometimes just saying hello and just having them respond back, and that's it. Giving them a compliment, and moving away without sounding like a creepoid.
Question. So maybe I can ask the whole of the panelists this question, right? Why, if you look back at your younger years, why did the girls not? I'm not gonna say why did the girls not approach you, but why did certain girls not approach you? What was you lacking? If you look at yourself in your younger years, what was you lacking? And the reason I'm asking that is because, you know, young men might be watching this or see this and be like, you know, they're not approaching me. And ladies, I don't want to get confused. When I say ladies are approaching you, let's keep $100 $1. When you're on your stuff, yeah, we actually don't approach much. We actually don't approach one. They actually approach you oftentimes. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about in the school setting where we're already in an existing environment. She will definitely give you some signals. That's what I should say. Maybe I should say we need a better term. Maybe not approach all the time, but she'll give you some signals, some hints that she's feeling you or whatever, blah blah blah. But I wanted to ask a question. So when you were younger, why do you think potentially certain girls would not have approached you? What was we lacking?
Who's going first?
Corey's new. Oh, you're going to do it? Dave, you want to do it?
No, go ahead.
No, Dave, you confident? No, David's confident, so we need him to go first. He's confident.
I think it goes back to the fact that I was not comfortable with myself, specifically in how I looked. I was aware of the world around me, and I was aware that the first impression was important. And whenever I would enter into a room or I would talk to somebody, I knew the first thing they would do would be to size me up.
Come on.
My look, my style wasn't that bad. So that was already something that was looking up for me. However, I knew my haircuts weren't always great. But then I also wasn't confident in my smile. So when I was a kid, I had a cracked tooth on top of the gap, and I didn't have any type of braces or anything like that. So I wasn't comfortable smiling, laughing, nothing, right? So I knew once I talked to anybody, the first thing they would see is probably the smile, the teeth, or whatever. And I was not confident in every other aspect of myself because I wasn't going to fix anytime soon. But I was just not confident in being able to talk to people in general because I felt as soon as they saw me, I'm talking about specifically women. I wasn't confident talking to women because I was like, they're going to count me out as soon as they see me. Plus, on top of that, I don't care what anybody says. People were not looking for dark skins at that time. It just was not a good time for dark skins in general, unless you had like the height, unless you had like the size, the voice, you needed something. I didn't have any of that. So I wasn't comfortable with myself at the time. I was just like, I don't know what I have. The only thing I did have was the art. And that was the only thing that probably was like a benefit in my corner, but it didn't even last long if I didn't capitalize it in that period of time, right? So I was just like, okay, I don't know what to do here. And that's why I didn't feel confident in myself. I didn't feel confident in what I could bring to the table. I knew people, and I do think that if I had been able to capitalize on my connections, I could have had status, which would then lead women to talk to me. But I just wasn't thinking in that way because I had already counted myself out. I was stuck in my head. Yeah, man.
I'm loving that. That's bars. Oh, Oni, you want to go, yeah?
I was 5'2".
Oh.
So, yeah.
Got you.
No. So there you go. I wish I had a longer answer, David, but yeah. Girls weren't checking guys 5'2".
I hear you. Okay. I mean, 5'2" ain't that bad at 14, but I hear what you're saying. You know what you're saying. Corey, go for it.
Yeah. For me, I do have to agree with David on this one when it comes to dark skins. There was just something, back then, it wasn't very welcoming, but I also realized that it wasn't me. I had to realize that it was nothing I was doing wrong. It was nothing wrong with my complexion. it was the women I was around. So I soon found out that the women for me was older women. I found out pretty quickly. I was 16 years old, but I had a girlfriend that was a sophomore in college. So the much more mature a woman is, she's not looking at those things that those girls were looking at that were in my grade. So that's something that taught me a very, very interesting lesson. And I hope that, whoever hears this understands this as well. There are young men or young women, when it comes to things like color of your skin, when it comes to trivial things that people don't like about you, it's not you, it's the other person's maturity level. Because if you find someone who is mature and finds out that you have a great character, you have something within you of value, then they're going to want you. Of course, the woman I was dating was taking a chance dating a 16-year-old, but it was something about me that she wanted to get to know better. So I took that as, she's mature. She's giving me a whole different viewpoint when it comes to relationships because she's older, So that taught me a valuable lesson. So I just want to say that much.
I love that, man.
That's good, man. I actually had the opposite experience. There was this,
okay.
there was this beautiful Dominican girl, right? And she was real thick, and I loved it. She felt really like self-conscious about her weight, but I was just like, nah, girl, I love me some of that. I love it, right? And I would always butter her up whenever I got the chance. I was really into her. I asked her out for, I think it was prom or homecoming or one of them joints. And she said yes, and I was surprised. I was like, oh, we in here. We done. We coming through. Give it like a few days, and all of a sudden, Shorty's telling her friend, another cute girl, but her friend is telling me, yeah, I'm not sure if she can go to prom with you. She's been having problems at home and stuff like that. And I'm like, what's going on? She's like, well, her parents don't really like black guys. And I was like, oh, okay. So what does she say? She's like, well, she can't really say anything. Those are her parents. She doesn't know how to feel about that. I promise you, ever since that day, I've never seen that girl date a black guy ever since. Right? So it's really, there's a lot of things that I had to realize, like, again, are not in my control. And just because certain types of girls aren't into me, that doesn't mean that nobody is. It just means I haven't found the right one for me. So I think I learned a similar lesson, just the harder way.
I love that.
Yeah. I see what you're saying when you say it's complete opposite. Yeah, man. So when it comes to those school age situations, man, it was about the color. Now I'll give you a step further. College was a little bit different. College, wasn't about the color of skin, dark skin or whatever tone. It was more about popularity, what you were into, things of that nature. Were you visible by many? If you were in your dorms all the time studying and doing what you're supposed to do, you may not get that much look, but if you're out, social events, tailgate parties, things of that nature, then you're likely to do better when it comes to dating. So for me, college was good to me. I didn't have any problems when it comes to the ladies. I wasn't known as a ladies' man. I wasn't known as anything like that. I was just always known as a solid dude. I was very neutral. I knew some of the most popular guys. I knew some of the jocks. I knew some of the nerds. I knew everyone. I was cool with everyone. I didn't push anyone away. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So college for me was pretty good. So those are my younger days.
Yeah. That's a typical Sigma, though. A typical Sigma is who's cool with everybody, blood. Never has a problem with anything. He can fit in every particular.
We adapt so well, man.
Adapt so well, man.
That's so dope, man.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, fam, we're here, we're there, but we're still cool, man.
When people ask you a question like, what do you really like about yourself? That's the biggest thing. Like my ability to adapt. If I'm talking about with anyone, it could be street thugs. Actually, I just adapt, man.
Yeah.
To the situation.
I'm with you on that, Corey. And it's funny you mentioned about street thugs. I remember when I moved to a certain area, In fact, I was gonna have some beef with some guy. The guy was like, "Nah, this guy's mad cool. Leave him alone, man."
Yeah.
I said, "What the frick is that?" It's just, bro. It's just,
You
you know what
never
I mean.
know.
You're
You
just
never
blessed
know.
that way.
You never know where it's going to come from too, because you never know what environment you're going to be in. Like if you're in a street situation, the guys that you're cool with, that are street, is going to come and bail you out. If the person you're into it with, if they don't know you, that person just pops up at the perfect time.
And bails you out. Cool, don't worry about him, bro.
Yeah, man.
Saving your life, bro.
That's a good spirit, man. To me, that's how I
it.
feel. You know, it's a good spirit. So, yeah, definitely.
I'm with you on that. I mean, if just listen to you guys well, and I'm hearing what you're saying, and I love it, man. And I think in my formative years, I like true confidence, man. If I'm honest with you, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was a funny guy. You know, that was creative, that would sing, dance, but I lacked confidence. And you know, when I look at the situations when I was talking to girls, they must see right through me, man. I was a paper bag. You understand? Because like I can have a conversation, but you can if I'm looking at me in my young years, you can see right through me. You know what I'm saying? Like that you are gonna be flimsy. In fact, if any girl had dated me that I was liking, I'd have been destroyed. They would have killed me. They would have killed me because I would have simped it out. I would have simped it out, bro. At that young age, I would have simped it out. So I'm actually glad I never got any play, because the mindset that I had at that time would have been almost to worship some of these girls. Do you know what I'm saying? Rather than actually think myself as an equal partner, because I didn't see my value. Do you know what I'm saying? I didn't see the value and where it was coming from, and I didn't value myself. I didn't put myself on the same level as some of these girls. You know what I'm saying? I put these girls well ahead. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd be even happy just to breathe the air. That's mad. That's mad. Listen, any guy out there, if you're thinking that it's even blessed just to breathe the air the girls breathing, you've lost it. I need you to come back to reality. Okay. All right. You don't need to be worshiping these women and these girls. The moment you worship these people, you're asking to be sacrificed, because people who worship sacrifice.
You know, you make a good point there, Coach. You know, back then, you know, when it comes to value, we allowed our peers to determine our value. You know, we allowed our peers to tell us who was popular, who was the go-to guy, who was the cool guy. But in those years, we weren't really looking at that for ourselves. We weren't really thinking on that level of, hey, I know I can do X, Y, and Z, or I know I can be the best that I can be in this. But someone tells you that you're going to fail. Oh man, you trying out for football? Oh man, you ain't gonna make the team, man. You flimsy. You know, you're not gonna make it. You start to get that in your mind. Well, maybe I am. Instead of bearing that confidence of knowing that you can do whatever it is. And it's a little bit of confidence, but it's overall value and understanding the definition of value and how it pertains to you and your life and how it pertains to your growth. So a lot of that was missing back in those days because we didn't understand what value was. So today you're able to go back and look at it and see it, you know, but back then, not so much.
Do you think, you can ask this question, do you think that you were taught value then? Like I'm talking about maybe from your home then, you know what I mean? Because I know my parents were great. Listen, they were. But I'm trying to think, where did they teach me value that so that when I got into that school environment, I felt that value? I don't know if maybe they did teach me that and I'm missing it and I have to think a little bit more deeper, but I'm trying to think, did we get taught that value?
You know, it's one of those things when it comes to me. So I don't want to hog with Mike either. I'm sorry, fellas.
No, you're good.
One of the things about being taught value, it really depends on that son or daughter and how they take that information in. Because you have some people who, when their parents tell them something, they stick to that. Like they feel that their parent has their best whatever at heart. I'm losing the word. So when it comes to that, then they will listen to their parents. You know, nothing that anyone else can say can shake that. I'm gonna give you an example involving myself. When it comes to smoking, right? All of my friends were smokers. You know, that green leafy material they were smoking that, and I was never the one to partake in it. You know, because my mom, she told me, you know, this is bad for you. You know, that was all I needed. No matter how many times I say, hey man, just try it, man. Just try it. 4 or 5 friends around me smoking. I'm having a good time. And my friends were cool, but I never took anything from them to try to smoke it. And that's an example, like, as kids, some of us just hold on to those values from our parents, and the parents tell you these things in hopes that you're doing that, but not everyone has that ability. You have the people who are hard heads, who would rather have the support of friends who wants to get them in trouble than to understand that their parents at home is where their mind should be on, what, like, the things that their parents are trying to teach them at home is where it should be. But it becomes difficult for certain students when they hear one thing at home and then they hear another thing in school. Like, you can do from home, but you can't do at school. So it makes it harder for them to understand, okay, what is the truth? And because they're in school more than they are at home, they're being around their parents at home. You gotta think about it. School, they're 8 hours. At home, you're there longer, but after homework, after dinner, there's bedtime. That's it. It's not much of a core of type of interaction with your kids, except for like on the weekend. Except for like on the weekends. So if that's the case, then it makes it harder to decipher the two, being at home and then being at school.
I'm hearing that. Okay, let me rephrase my question then, because I'm with you, bro. Like, my parents also too, that when it came to smoking and drinking, I wasn't, well, drinking, they didn't really have to talk about that because I didn't like it myself. But smoking, definitely, I could hear my mom and dad's voice in my head. I'm never gonna touch that stuff. Let me rephrase it. Were we taught value of love? Let me change it that way.
Yeah. When you say love, do you mean love of others or self-love?
I think both.
Okay. Yeah, definitely, man. I think that the value of love, and for me and my parents, I was taught love and the example of love through religion, honestly, through the building a relationship with God. So for me, that was very important. And there were examples that were given to me to show you what love is. And I think that there is a truth to the fact that when you're teaching something, you should also provide an example to make it easy, make it clear for whoever you're trying to teach. So now they have the understanding of, okay, this is what love looks like. Okay, so someone cares for me so much, they're able to do this. They're doing this for me. They're doing that for me. This is how I experience love. And I want to show love in that same way. I want to be able to express my love for someone for what they do for me and how they encourage me. So you kind of go back and forth with that. So my answer to that is yes, parents can definitely instill that love in you. It just really depends on that drive of that person. Will they allow that to happen? Will they allow that to take place? And outside interference is a real thing when it comes to that. So yeah.
I find that very, very interesting. Because it sounds like your parents affirmed you and modeled it for you, right? Like they kind of like tried to help push you and shape you. For me, it was kind of different because my parents were like sort of traditional African parents, right? In which they showed their love through acts of service. Because they provided for you materially, then that was supposed to translate to you that, okay, I do love you, right? And of course, I grew up also as a Christian, like in a Christian household. However, I think what molded my value of love wasn't actually love, but I found more influences of romance, and they aren't necessarily inextricably linked, right? Like sometimes romance is just an exaggerated form of like codependency and stuff like that, where you're just trying to figure out what can I do for this person? What can this person do for me? How can we be together in a romantic sense? But I didn't see other aspects as valuable, like friendship or family, right? Like those are crucial things in your formative years where I didn't necessarily see it modeled growing up, or I didn't necessarily see the value as much as I saw the value in romance, because I wanted that from different movies, different shows that I was watching and stuff like that, that would usually inform me of what was most valuable. And so I became girl crazy because I wanted love in that specific form. And I hadn't seen it modeled, but I knew that it was available. So then I was trying to search after those things, hoping that that would somehow affirm my own self-value, my own form of like, okay, I am actually worthy. You know what I mean? At least growing up, that's what I saw, because in typical African household, you don't see a lot of like affection. And I think that's what I was lacking. And I didn't get it in my my understanding of what love is. I didn't get like words of affirmation. I didn't get like that physical affection or anything like that very much. It's not like it was never there, but it just wasn't translated in that way often. But I think it can be groomed into your kids. You just have to learn how your kids want it, how your kids need that affirmation. But yeah, I'm rambling.
Question. Can I ask a question real quick? So when it comes to your parents teaching you through words of affirmation, has that become your love language? Did you adopt that as a man now today? Do you feel like that's how you show your love? That's your love language, is words of affirmation?
It's interesting. I think I'm actually, these days, I think I'm better at giving words of affirmation rather than receiving. I used to think that I really, really wanted words of affirmation. But then once I actually started receiving it, it was just like, it's great and I love it. But it's more of, I think it comes more of being told that I'm doing the right thing. So then how it shows up in different relationships is because, again, in an African household, you're often criticized for a lot of things. So like, for example, in terms of a report card, if you get that report card and you're not getting all A's, it's kind of done for you. You know what I mean? You're not doing the right thing. So then how it translated to me, I think, is that I want to be in my friendships, I want to be told, or at least I want it to be known that like I'm doing a good job. I'm serving this person in a way that speaks to them, right? That's what gives me that satisfaction of here. That's how I get my affirmation. Like, oh no, you're a good friend to me. You're solid. Oh, you're a great boyfriend. Oh, you're a great brother. Those types of things are what make me satisfied. And I don't have to hear it much anymore, because now that I have been able, and now that I've heard it enough times, if somebody tells me one time, I'm good, right? So then now I think my love languages are actually changing. And I don't know how that works, but I do know that now it's transitioning possibly to like more quality time, because I'm realizing how little time I have with people due to the fact that I'm a lot busier these days. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And the reason why I was asking that, because, you know, sometimes when people receive love, especially at a young age, they adopt that type of love language, you know, and I'm thankful. I think there have been some benefits to having it the way that you received it, but I'm also thankful to how it was taught to me through like religion and things like that, because there were multiple types of examples. You know, it wasn't just one way. So it makes me open to a lot of different types of love, to receive it in a lot of different ways, to see it happen for others in a lot of different ways. Like, for instance, not to get too religious right now, but when we talk about blessings, it really depends on who that person is and how they identify a blessing. Now, I'm gonna tell you a real short story. I was in church one day, and I did have a pastor tell me that if you want to see how powerful God is, ask him to show you his will. Ask him to show you his strength. And what ended up happening to me was that I got pulled over by a police officer. And when I got pulled over, he said my license plate was expired, which it was, but where I'm originally from is from the month that you're born, not necessarily the last name, whatever the case is. But he ended up letting me go. And when he let me go, he didn't have to. He could have taken me in. He could have towed my car, all of that. And see, I see that as a form of a blessing. Others may see blessings as some form of financial gain. Or, oh, it's a blessing I got out of this bill. Oh, it's a blessing I was able to pay this bill. Yes, that's true. It is a blessing, but there are different ways to receive it. So I use that as an example to say, okay, there were works that were happening in the Bible, in scripture, that taught me different views of love. And I think that makes it easier for me to be who I am today, being able to adapt, being able to see adaptability just in everyday life at that age. So it made me the person I am today. So I appreciate what I have, but I also can appreciate where you're coming from, where those words of affirmation can hit home for you and show you and build you up and make you a stronger man. So I dig both of them.
I feel that. I do. Because in a lot of ways, I actually felt like, okay, so when I was just entering into high school, my dad had recently passed away. He passed away like literally, I want to say like the summer before I had gone into high school. So then I felt like that was my time of like coming of age, and I needed like that source of like a father figure. So then I didn't have anywhere else to run to except the Bible that he left sitting around. And I would use that Bible and I would read it. And I didn't know really where to start. So I just went to Proverbs. I had always heard good Proverbs from there. But it was from there that I began to be more solid and find more of my identity, because there was so much rich like wisdom in there that I think had actually kept me from doing a lot of stupid things, because I would remember certain verses and stuff like that, and it would feel like a father speaking to his son, right? So then I would see a lot of those examples shown through the word, and then I would feel affirmed in those small ways. It still felt kind of strange at times because it wasn't like an actual person speaking to me, and that's where I felt estranged, like physically. But I do understand where you're coming from in terms of like being able to see God's hand in different things, and how that can actually like provide a lot of value and stability for somebody who's growing up. So I definitely feel you in that sense.
Yeah, man, you are killing it, man, and I'm hearing some great conversations there. Both yourself, David, and Corey brought some good points. I mean, even myself, just listening to you, I'm similar to David. African parents, you know, again, they tell you, listen, I'll put food in your belly, clothes on your back, and a roof over your head. You should be happy, my friend. Do you know what I'm saying? And a little bit starved of emotional intimacy, if you want to call it that. Do you know what I mean? And very similar to him, I'm words of affirmation as well. So I'm words of affirmation and quality time. And when you're young and when you're younger and you're not really understand yourself, that is what hits home the most as well. So you desire that even more. You know what I mean? You're craving that and wanting that, and that translates. I think that translates into the girl hungry stuff. It's not the women that you actually really want. What you really want is their desire and their attention. It's a replacement of what you're getting from your parents. So actually what happens is it just funnels itself into that, and you start chasing women, or at least trying to put yourself around women so that you can be able to tap into that lack of deficiency that you have in that area, that you don't even realize when you're younger is a deficiency. You just think it's that I just want to have girls. I want to be able to be like other guys. Da, 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 not realizing actually, more than like some of the bad boys who are also out here taking these girls, they're also having the same problem you're having. They just can get them. You know what I'm saying? They go through the exact same thing you're going through. They just can get the girl that you want. And then obviously when you do grow up and you start to obviously get to know yourself a bit more, and you study and you learn and you take in knowledge and wisdom and coming into Christ as well, I think Corey, what you said is even just as poignant as well. How you see blessings, you know what I mean? Depending on your upbringing, depending on what you had when you're younger, you're gonna see blessings far differently to someone else just because of the context of how you grew up. You know what I mean? Like I thank the things that I thank God for. Sometimes I'm even like, God, maybe I shouldn't be thanking for this. Like it's not a big deal. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I thank you for this. I thank you for the same thing that happened maybe 10 years ago. I'm still thanking him for it, because the way I see things is like, my dad will be like, listen, if you're going somewhere, make sure you can get there and you can get back. All right. That was one of his favorite things. He said, if you can get there, you need to know how you're getting back. Right. So things like that, I'll be like, okay, cool. So, that my dad's more of a, you got to be independent. Then when you meet someone like God, let me be specific. When you meet Jesus specifically, Holy Spirit, who wants to now do things for you, the way you see blessings is completely different, because now when someone's doing those things for you, you are like, wow, how can someone want to do that for me? Like, because I never received that when I was younger. I learned how to just be content. So God, if you even give me £1,000 increase at my job, I'm a praise you like there's no tomorrow. I'm a pretty because someone else wouldn't have done that for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're right. Your how you see life and how you even see God and your relationship with God can oftentimes be guided very much by what you experienced when you were younger, and that then also shapes your value of what you think is love as well. So yeah, man, I'm with you on that as well. You know, I'm with you on that. Were you gonna say something, Corey? Go for it.
No, no, I wasn't anything.
Oh, oh, you've been quiet, blood.
I've been listening. Unconditional love. Yeah, I don't know what that is. My parents were Nigerian, so like bring home those eggs. But like I noticed, like I guess COVID kind of like was a good experience for me because it's like I spent a lot more time like talking to family, especially talking to my dad, just about life in general, like why he did things typically the way he did. And like I know growing up, like he never took us like to the park or to like Six Flags or anything like that. But it was like his form of love, I guess, will probably equate to maybe I want to say words of affection, maybe like show affection, if I could say that. Like I provided a roof over your heads. I provided clothes. I provided structure. I provided you like a template in how to succeed in life. It was up to you to follow through with that. That's what I saw with my dad. And I was just like, I guess you have to understand, like, he grew up in Nigeria. He didn't grow up in the United States. So I can't expect him to understand exactly everything that I was seeing because he didn't see that growing up. And like when you're like 8, I mean, maybe you don't understand that, but like now that you're not, it's like, okay, you kind of see like, well, maybe this is what was taught to him and he just emulated that. And which is, I mean, good, which is great. And I'm thankful for that. And I'm happy for that. I guess maybe I wanted to see. I saw other people having fun, and I want to have fun too. The fact that I wasn't having fun, that I saw people have fun, that made me kind of resentful. Which then again, like maybe it aided. You don't understand the whole situation or everything around, but now it's like, okay, how do I want to show love? Because again, maybe my dad wasn't physical in showing love, but everything that you needed was there behind the scenes. So again, you want someone just to hold you up, not just talk to you, but actually be a friend. I don't think my dad was like one of my best friends that I could talk to about certain things back when I was like younger, but like now it's like we talk about anything. Well, I kind of appreciate that. So I think seasons we have play into it. I don't. I mean, dad's super strict, so I mean, I don't think I can ever be that strict. But at the same time, it's like, hey, I got through medical school, so I'm like, hey, your son became a doctor, so I'm like, you can be as strict as you want.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that, bro, as well. Like, in terms of obviously, maybe not having that relationship as such when you're younger, but then kind of developing it more when you're older. And I think it's about, that's the way they understood how to rear you for success. They want you to do better than they did. They want you to go beyond what they did, achieve more,
Yeah.
and sometimes a lack of they can't give you what they don't have. You know what I mean? They can't give you what they don't have. They don't have. Sometimes our parents just didn't have the capacity to give us the emotional care that they wanted. This is not giving them a cop out. Uh, whoa, this is not that's giving them a cop out, but it's just trying to understand the reason. It is not an excuse. I was actually thinking about it when I was walking around today, which is reasons don't mean there's an excuse. Like it doesn't mean it can be excused. It just means there's a reason as to why this behavior happened. Um, and so, we're tasked with doing better so that we can make sure that our children are not starved of what we needed. You know what I'm saying? And making sure, they don't suffer in those areas. Of course, no one's perfect, but not suffering the same way that we suffered in that area. What's the point of then, if we're not going to learn from past mistakes of our particular parents as well? So myself, yeah, I'm with you on that. On you, I get it. We developed later on with our parents, maybe some different relationships, So it does make sense. It does make sense as well. Let me ask. There's a final question I want to ask because we want to come to the end, innit? which is let me get my question up, guys. Okay. It's a bonus question. You know, I like to throw a little bonus question in there, cuz. All right. A bonus question. Let me get my thing up. Sorry. Here we go. Where is it, mate? Oh, I lost the question. Oh, I might have lost the question. Well, this will lead. Yeah, I'll ask the question because it will lead on to when we do next week properly. I know we didn't do our actual topic this week, but we'll do it for next week. So, since we've been talking about value all day, talking about as a young man how to have value, just briefly, so that it leads into our conversation for next week. Briefly, is a man defined? Is his value defined by how much he makes? Is a man's value defined by how much money he makes? I'm asking that question.
What do you mean by makes? Because you can technically make. I'm splitting hairs.
How much can? Yeah, I get you saying.
You can technically make a lot of things. You can make a woman feel secure. How much does he make a woman feel secure? How much does he make? How much does he like create a legacy for himself? How much does he like sow into others? Of course, I think you're leaning into like financials, but could he be defined by those things as well? I think so, because that speaks more to his actions. That speaks more to his character. That speaks more to how much respect he can get, and of course, that could possibly tie into how much he's making. But I don't know. I need more specificity.
That's cool. Don't worry. Next week we'll get specificity. Corey Black, just based on the question, what are you thinking?
Yeah. So for me, I think that there's some truth to that. I think there's some truth to that because your earning potential, it correlates with your abilities and your strengths. The areas where where you show strength in, are you using those areas to earn money, to provide for your family, for yourself? What are you using? What are you doing with your talents, so to speak? So if you're really talented, you can turn zero into $1 million. You know, it's a possibility you can do that. It's just how much do you use that talent to get to where you want to be, or is that a goal for yourself? There's also a mindset too when it comes to value. You know, do you feel a value because you make this much money? Because you got some guys who make a certain tier, it's on a certain tier, and it's like, hey, you can't tell me anything. You know what I'm saying? And now it's like, okay, are you really valuable or are you an a-hole? You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, how are you going to look at that? So it can be judged, it can be looked at in a lot of different mirrors, a lot of different viewpoints. And because of that, it makes it hard to say just one particular thing. But when it comes to money, I think society looks at it as a potential way of showing your worth, your value, based on what you earn, what you bring home. If you bring home 10, 15 an hour, they're going to look at you a certain way. I mean, we all know this. If someone is working in McDonald's, we automatically look at that person and say, okay, did they go to college? Did they really be the best they can be? Is this it for them? Is this where they saw themselves when they grow up, when they was a kid? Did they say they wanted to be this when they grew up? Pretty much, I don't think so. You know, so something happens, there's a story in there somewhere. So that value is being judged in a way of first optics. It's not being looked at like with any depth. And I think if we look a little deeper, we could find that there is value there. It may just not be in that particular form. So yeah.
Oni.
When I hear like value, I mean, I guess we look at it from a woman's. I try to put myself inside of women. I hear providing, protecting, and if you're unable to provide a home, you're able to provide for children. I guess that's where it looks it's a negative insight to you if that's what they're looking for when it comes when they're looking when it comes to dating. Does it matter how much you? I'm not sure if it's a figure how much you earn. However, if you're unable to provide the necessities like home, shelter, etc., those things, it's gonna be kind of hard to make yourself an actual suitor. So I can get that from that standpoint. Does it mean you need to have $1 million? No. But does it mean that you need to be able to provide somewhere that you can actually house those certain things that you've seen fit? I think that's the key thing. I think we kind of equate everything to a dollar value. It's like, okay, you have to make X amount of money, do X amount of things. But honestly, is is it the fact that you're making money or how much money you make? And I think that's the thing that I'm still trying to work through or trying to figure out exactly what does that mean even to me, because again, when I'm hearing like, oh yeah, I um I make this amount of money, blah blah blah, and I needed my guy to make make this. I'm like, okay, why does he have to make this? Like, why is that like why is that a necessity, or why is that a requirement? Like, again, what does that mean? I'm like, I'm still trying to figure that out. But I mean, I think I agree with what you're saying. Like, yeah, value, money, yeah, yeah. Answer the question is definitely yes.
Appreciate it. Well, audience, you will get to find out a little bit more about this conversation when we talk about this on the next episode of Men Unfiltered. So, we'll have another real conversation about, whether a man's value is dependent upon his financial earning power. Is that how men are measured? And we're going to discuss that a little bit more depth. All right. So if you know you're opinionated, you've got some opinions, how you feel, you need to tune into that particular episode. All right. But until then, I want you to make sure you like, you share, you subscribe, you click on that bell button for notification of uploads, and make sure you leave a comment on this particular current video as well. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded. Goodbye.